Okay, good morning gamers, and we're back on Voidbreaker. This is our iteration 2, so we're going through this loop for the second time. We may actually get killed here, but the idea is that in this random talk we're going to address some of the obvious, Twitch drama. Now, what is some of the Twitch drama that is going on now? So TheBurntPeanut, who is a VTuber or a PTuber, right, is getting a lot of hate for him winning the VTuber of the Year award, right, by the VTubing community, because they feel that not only is he not really a VTuber, that he also has in his previous history make some comments about VTubing in general, right? Now, here's the reality. The criteria to become a VTuber is not defined by being an anime, by having an anime avatar to represent you. And whenever you start streaming or when you do YouTube content, being a VTuber is purely defined by the fact that you have a virtual avatar that represents you. That's it. That's pretty much it. There is no deeper meaning behind it. All the content is purely based on whatever content you want to do, and this makes a very good statement because of the fact that he did win. Not only did TheBurntPeanut kind of break down the general stereotypes of how VTubers are and what they do, whether it's voice changers, anime girls with big titties, right? Being a furry, I guess you could say. Being a highly attractive anime guy, right? 200 views. And TheBurntPeanut did all of this by being purely just a peanut. Okay? And it's a good thing that he won it. Why is it a good thing? Because it shows that for a lot of people who want to do VTubing but does not want to get into the anime kind of trope, that there's a clear chance for them to become still popular. And I think that's what really matters the most here, is that TheBurntPeanut tore down in a clear single year what people stereotype VTubers to be, and showcase that anyone who wants to do VTubing can easily get into it. It's not a oh, you have to fit some sort of agenda or anything of the sort. And for people who are trying to make it that way, you're purely just gatekeeping, right? That's the idea. You're clearly trying to gatekeep people from being in the community because you feel like the community needs to fit your kind of vision. But in that kind of way, it's almost like you're trying to have some sort of online racism that goes on about oh, well, you're not this, even though you aren't technically part of it, because of you not fitting into the general idea of how we think the society should be and stuff like that. It's problematic in many ways to think like that. And I'm not to say that gatekeeping is always a problem. It's just to say that in this kind of light, it's the internet, bro. It's get over it. Don't be weird about how VTubers need to be and them needing to be anime waifus, anime. I don't know what the equivalent of a waifu for a guy, but anime waifu guy and stuff like that. It's none of that really is what VTubing is about. VTubing is literally just about having a virtual avatar that represents you in any kind of way. If you want to be a stick man, if you want to be a bookshelf, if you want to be I don't know, I've seen some people become croissants and stuff, right? It's TheBurntPeanut clearly just tore down the stereotype and no one liked it. That's about it. Now, biggest name VTuber, I would probably argue, right, I think everyone can kind of agree, is Ironmouse. And Ironmouse has expressed her support for TheBurntPeanut winning the award, because she acknowledges that VTubing is nothing more than just having a virtual avatar to represent you. It really doesn't matter what kind of avatar. And it's weird as fuck to try to sit there and gatekeep that kind of community because you don't like it, right? Now, yes, if you don't like BurntPeanut's content, which is somewhat mature rated content, somewhat, I guess maybe like majority of the time it's mature rated content, then you don't have to watch his content. But that's like, if you're gonna try to use that as a way to tear down why he shouldn't have won, well, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo, brother. That's a lot of people who live stream on multiple different platforms that have mature rated content, who are popular. And IML's won Streamer of the Year, last year, right? And she got a whole bunch of hate because of the fact that she's not a person who has a traditional face cam, and she's not your traditional so-called, streamer in that sense, and she's a VTuber. But then it's like, at the end of the day, there's no criteria for, what it means to be a streamer besides the fact that you stream. Like, no one's, like, Twitch didn't make these, like, Twitch didn't make any rules against it. If you want to stream, go stream, and that's it. Now you're a streamer. If you want to make YouTube content, now you're kind of a person who's a content creator, right? It's that plain and simple. There's no like deeper meaning behind any of this. All you have to do is follow pretty much TOS for the most part, right? And Twitch and TOS is kind of like, how much does Twitch really care about TOS? But at the end of the day, it's not like TheBurntPeanut is, banned off the platform, and definitely he's not permanent banned. He's not. I mean, Twitch clearly recognizes him, right? If Twitch can say there and say, okay, we consider what we want as VTubers, which is like, not defined by any single individual, to be honest, it's a general terminology, that TheBurntPeanut is a VTuber, then he's a VTuber. It's just that plain and simple, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. Argue to QT Cinderella about, what's a VTuber and not. Argue to Dan Clancy about what's a VTuber or not. But at the end of the day, whatever you're going to say does not really affect the, platform in general. And it's like the same people are acknowledge that you're kind of trying to be weird about some sort of category, right? Other than that, there's really not, that much bigger drama that went on. I think I'm Dante trying to make, the jokes be, somewhat like about bias towards WL streamers. And if you don't know what WL streamer is, I believe the general idea is that WL streamers are pretty much minority streamers for the most part, right? People who are not white. But that wasn't the case at all. The jokes in the Twitch Streamer Awards was at everyone. It's not to say that the jokes weren't bad, right? I think the jokes were bad, and it made a lot of people uncomfortable because that's maybe not how they want to be viewed as. And for people who don't know who they are, they may think of Rakai being a thief, right? You have the joke about what's the coolest thing you stole, right? Instead, maybe Rakai wants to be recognized for a little bit something, or have a joke about him that's not necessarily related to his band, considering he also kind of had a big fear when he saw that he was banned for 2 years almost, right? But he wasn't really, Twitch said that was a visual bug, and it wasn't the case at all. He was temporarily banned. I don't know if he's unbanned, but if he is still banned, it still doesn't make a difference of people who are there who views their own streamers are hearing that what's the coolest thing you stole, it makes Rakai kind of look like in some ways maybe a person who's known for stealing, right? That's his content, right? That's not what Rakai wants to be known for. So there's a lot of bad jokes, but I don't think any of the jokes at all there were racially motivated. They were not biased to any sort of group of people. I mean, the first few jokes of the entire stream was not towards any of the WL streamers or minority groups. I mean, if you're trying to say that it's against minority groups, right, and you're just categorizing black people, then you're kind of just you're trying to like invalidate other minorities such as Asians and Hispanics and everything that's, you know, pretty much not the majority, right? The majority of streaming, whether that's be women and, you know, other genders that people want to identify themselves as. It's weird to try to say that it's entirely weird to try to say that that was the case of the jokes. No, the jokes, for anybody who's still listening, were not towards any sort of biased amount of people. It's like there are some people who had more drama than others, and that's kind of just plain and simple. And you know, I mean, like what Hassan had, like I don't know, like 30 jokes against him, right? That all related to, well, 30 may be a stretch, but you know, Hassan had multiple jokes against him relating to his incident with Kaya the dog, right? That, you know, we all know that that's a pretty weird incident, right? And QT Cinderella kind of denounced as being a shot caller, even though like we all know it was a shot caller. But anyways, I digress. The jokes were not against WO streamers or minority groups only. That was not the case. They were just bad jokes, right? That related to it. Like I guarantee you, if Nina Lin was there in the crowd, she probably would have like all of these jokes about how she's a thief and all of this other stuff, right? It's so, no. As far as the Stream Awards goes, it still was cringe as fuck. It was still a lot of bad jokes. I think people in today's society are kind of getting tired of them. I think that's the reality, right? You know, it's really not about, okay, they're just jokes. I think just a lot of people don't really want to hear them anymore. And you know, they're kind of starting to become a little bit too repetitive, where they start to seem a little bit offensive, right? You know how people say, like, you make a joke so many times, you may start actually believing the joke itself, right? Like that's kind of the idea. So yeah, Stream Awards could have been done, especially with this year, way better. I think the only solution that QT Cinderella has is to make it a little bit more professional, right? You know, like stop doing all of these kind of bad jokes. You know, you're not Hollywood, you're not Oscars, and even then people also don't really watch them for the jokes anymore either. They just want to know who won and who got what categories, right? That's all we kind of really give a fuck about now. We don't really care about any of this, you know, extra dramatic shit that you're trying to make into some sort of whatever, right? It's just that plain and simple. So for the Burnt Peanut, 100% deserved VTuber of the Year award, or PTuber of the Year award, right? And for I'm Dante, none of the jokes were racially motivated. They were not, you know, towards black people only. They were against everybody. And that's about it. Can I kill this mofo cat before he kills me? Is that a thing? Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Stream Awards could have done better. Next year, hopefully QT Cinderella realizes that she needs to stop having writers or herself make these kind of fucking jokes. A lot of people are not finding them really all that, you know, hilarious anymore, and a lot of people are becoming kind of, you know, discomforted by them, or you just know that you don't make certain kind of jokes against certain kind of people because they're gonna feel some type of way about it to some regard. And that is it. I will see y'all in the next morning. Darling, love y'all, and I will probably see what next drama to talk about.